Hi guys, I'm here with the Miss Incredible Amber Linza. She and we met when we were actually in elementary school in a private Christian school. And Amber was in Jessica Mazuka's graduating class. So she was ahead of me by one grade. And over the years, when I was living in California, she and I have been Facebook friends, and we have kind of followed each other's journeys over the last couple of years. And we have recently reconnected because we're going on this really incredible journey together. And I want to kind of introduce you guys, and she's going to hop in here real quick and talk about who she is, what she's doing, and the reason why I am bringing her into my Women to Know and Follow portion of my blog is because she's one of these people that I find absolutely fascinating. She is a mom of two beautiful little boys, so she is busy all the time. And she is going on this incredible journey as a runner. I started following her running journey a while ago, and I've just been enthralled in it. I've always wanted to be a runner. I'm now trying to get my bearings and trying to get to her level because she is just a kick-ass runner. So I'm going to go ahead and let Amber say hi to you guys.
All right. Well, thank you, Lauren, so much for that introduction. Gosh, it's really neat to see my journey through someone else's eyes, because at this point I wouldn't say I'm an incredible runner, but I'm proud of the journey where I've come from in this past year. So like Lauren said, my name is Amber. I'm a mama, yes, of two little boys. We live in Salida, Colorado, so a small little mountain town. And I've been a nurse for 10 years now. And most of my nursing journey was inside of the hospital, taking care of patients. That's where my heart is at. I have a very servant heart, I feel like, and it fills my cup to take care of people. And the last, like year and a half, 2 years, my boys are getting older. Their schedules are so busy. So working those long, long hours as a nurse wasn't quite matching up with the mama heart of mine, to be there for all of their activities. And so I took a work from home job, and now I do prior authorization nursing from home for an insurance company. So I still work full time as a nurse, and I work full time as a mama, even though my boys are in school now. And yeah, I'm excited to talk about my fitness journey with you guys and my running journey and where all of that has started over the past kind of handful of years.
It's incredible, honestly. Like, I don't know how there's enough sleep in the day as well as enough coffee for the life that you live. Honestly, you're so.
No, I don't know if we have a choice, right? It's like we got to survive. So.
Yeah, and if I swear, if you miss 1 hour of your sleep, you're probably feeling like absolutely dead because you are just absolutely busy all the time. But let's talk about your boys for a minute. How old are they? What are their names?
Yeah, so Jeremiah is my oldest. He just turned 8 on New Year's. He's my New Year's baby, so I can't believe I have an 8-year-old. He's in 2nd grade. And then my youngest son, Penn, he is 5, almost 6. He will be 6 on April 1st. He's counting down the days. Like, we're in the 40s at this point. So he's very excited to turn 6, and he's in kindergarten.
I love your son's story, Penn, of his birthday, because honestly, Amber, it tickles my heart all the time when I think of when he was born, because everybody thought you were having a girl. The doctors confirmed it. You thought you were having a girl. And then did you guys paint the walls pink and everything? Like, you got.
Oh yeah, we did. I mean, we had our firstborn, a boy, and then we were told we were having a girl. Now, to be fair, we did not do the blood test, right? We just did good old-fashioned ultrasound, but it was confirmed multiple times on ultrasound that we were having a girl. And yes, whole family so excited, inundated with pink everything, big pink polka dots on the wall, everything. And then my due date was it was in March. I think my due date was like March 28th, and he hadn't come yet. But I went into labor and he was born on April 1st. I say he because yes, he came out a boy. It was Easter Sunday that day also on that April Fool's Day that year. And when I told everybody that we had the baby and it was a boy, nobody believed us. They were like, ha ha, Amber, very funny, April Fools. And I'm like, nope, I'm in shock. I labored all night. I don't have the energy to make this up. I promise you, he's a boy. He's here, and April 1st is his birthday. And let me tell you, he has lived up to that every single day of his life. It's just, it couldn't have been more fitting.
It was too funny because I found out on Facebook, I think Matt Kroschel, did you guys do a story on it on the news?
Yeah, he reached out to us and was like, this is just too good to be true. This is just some good, wholehearted, like, feel good news. Would you mind doing an interview with my team? And so I think he was based out of Colorado Springs at that time. And so, yeah, it was the Colorado News, CBS, that came out and interviewed us in the hospital while we're in shock with this baby boy that we're like, what's he gonna wear?
I died when I saw this. I was laughing so hard. And I mean, it's a true testament to what I've been saying for years and years, that God has the funniest sense of humor, because you can't make this up. It's incredible. I just wanted everybody to know this story because it's one of my favorite stories. I tell everybody about it. And you know, you've shared with me before that, you know, mamahood for you started as a journey for you and your husband. You want to talk about that for a minute?
Yeah, you know, I met my husband when I was 18. We went to high school together, but we really didn't talk in high school. So right after high school is when we met. And so we dated for a long time before we got married. And then, let's see, we got married in 2011, and Jeremiah was not born until 2016. But we knew that we wanted kids, but our journey to be able to have kids took a long time. So I was finishing up my, I was in nursing school. I had just finished up my bachelor's degree when we had gotten married, took some time off, went to nursing school. So having kids right after we got married, we knew was not going to be in the cards. But when we were ready, you know, like we said before, God has other plans for us. And so, you know, we couldn't get pregnant. It took probably a year of our, you know, trying on our own and realizing something's up. And then we worked with a local fertility doctor for about another year with no luck. And we were sent to another specialist in Denver to figure out what was going on. And so I have polycystic ovarian syndrome. I think that it's a fairly prevalent issue with women that is not always talked about. And I mean, for me, it was like, why can't my body do the one thing that I thought I was made to do? You know, like, why can't I just have a baby like everyone else? And so that was something that I struggled with also. And I will say that in that time, I wasn't taking care of myself. I really kind of had tunnel vision on, I want to be a mom, I'm going to have this baby, but I wasn't focusing on taking care of myself necessarily either. So I will say during this time, I was not working out. I was not eating right. In fact, I was probably like eating Ben and Jerry's every night. I was eating my feelings, you know, instead of taking care of myself. But, you know, it was a journey and everything worked out. But it took about 4 or 5 months working with fertility doctors in Denver when we were able to conceive. And so we were so excited. I will always remember that day of like having that first positive pregnancy test. And we were lucky enough that was our Jeremiah. And, you know, we didn't have to go through any loss. I can't imagine. My heart goes out to mamas that go through that process and then they have a loss. So we got pregnant with Jeremiah in April of 2015. And then, you know, he was born on New Year's baby. He was due on Christmas Day, born on New Year's. I don't know what it is about my family with holidays, but it's a thing apparently. And yeah, so he, you know, he was our cute little guy. And during the time where he was an infant and then a toddler, my world was still consumed with him. He was everything I ever wanted. You know, I was still working as a nurse. I was doing my 12-hour shifts, 3 days a week, you know, juggling childcare, all of that stuff. John was working full time. And, you know, we were happy to be mom and dad, but that was my only hat that I felt like I was wearing. I certainly was not working out, and I was not taking care of myself. And that was like the heaviest that I had ever been in my life. But in a way, when I look back at it, I was okay with that, you know, because I had my baby, I had my bundle of joy.
Sure.
And then Penn, you know, he was a surprise when he was born, but he was a surprise baby. Thankfully, we did not have to go through any fertility treatments to have him. He was a surprise. And honestly, you know, that journey of years of infertility treatment, I never thought I would have a surprise. Oh my gosh, I'm pregnant, but it did happen. And clearly, you know, his whole story and why he's here, it was just meant to be. But I still look back and think, gosh, how did that happen? You know, and it was just God's plan that I was meant to have a baby, you know, on our own with that. So yeah, it was definitely a struggle to get pregnant with Jeremiah. And, you know, gosh, then we go into the start of motherhood, and that's a whole nother story, right?
Oh yeah. I mean, it's unfortunate that there are so many women who go through fertility struggles. And, you know, just George and I, like, we started trying and it wasn't working. So then we went straight to ovulation sticks and we got pregnant immediately. I was actually pretty surprised. I thought, oh my gosh, I'm struggling. Like maybe I'm not meant to get pregnant. And then once we got the ovulation sticks, it happened so fast. I was like, oh, wow. Okay. But you're right. Everybody's journey into it is shaky. It can be especially alarming if you're not prepared for it and it happens, or it's not happening and it's taking more time. So, you know, my husband and I were very blessed and fortunate that we didn't go through that portion of it. But what can you say to moms that are struggling with it?
You know, I would say God has a plan for you. And looking back, you know, the timing of having our baby when we did, I can't think of it working out any better. Mm-hmm. And, you know, if it ends up that you're not able to have a baby on your own, maybe there's adoption out there. Like it was just like me giving it my life and my plan over to God. But that's me looking back 8-9 years ago at that. When I was in it, gosh, the ups and downs, the tears. I remember leaving the fertility doctor, like locally, every time when they would say you didn't ovulate, there's nothing there. And I would just be sobbing, you know, like, why can't this happen? Right. And so, yeah, I feel for you. I know, and just know that in time, what's meant to be will be, and it's going to be the greatest blessing and journey for you when it happens. So, and give yourself grace. You know, you're still a woman, even though, you know, maybe you're not ovulating. You know, you can't put pressure on yourself or blame on yourself or on your husband. If, you know, if it's him that's having the fertility reasons, you know, don't place blame on one another and give it up to God's plan, because clearly we know things are not in our control.
Right. And I mean, we're in this era of life where there is so much technology and help with doctors and things like that, and it's out of our control. You can do the steps and do everything that you can, but if it's still out of the control of you and your body and all these things, thank God for adoption. There is so many beautiful children in need of a good home. And, you know, I think I've seen a few people that we know that have done the adoption, you know, route, and they just are such a beautiful family. So, you know, I wanted to shine light on that for a minute, especially for women that are following us, especially in their healing journeys. You know, that's something that needs to be addressed as well. You know, it's I feel like it's a whole lot of blame on yourself, your body, it's shame, it's a lot of things. And for you to say, give yourself the grace, give it up to God, and, work on what you can work on. And if it's going to happen, it's going to happen. But, I'm so grateful that you guys got your, miracle baby 1 and then miracle baby number 2, 2 different journeys. It's incredible.
And now our family's complete. I'm good. I'm good with my 2.
We're done. Following you and everything that you just said recently about your fitness journey, because you just mentioned earlier that you weren't necessarily taking care of yourself. Now, I've seen the drastic change over the years of how you have been taking care of yourself. What has been that path? What happened to you to kind of wake you up on that?
Yeah, I mean, truly, I was active in high school. I was in sports,
Right.
I was active then. And then for whatever reason, something inside of me for my college journey and stuff, I didn't want to move my body. And I look back and I think, oh, I wish I would have. I so wish that I would have chosen to be an active person, in sports or running or weightlifting or whatever that was in college. I mean, I kid you not, I dropped out of a fitness class that I signed up for because, I was worried that if I lost weight, that my wedding dress wasn't going to fit. That was my senior year of college. And we couldn't afford alterations. And I was like, nah, I don't need to lose weight for my wedding. Like, this is fine. Like, I'm not going to a fitness class for a semester. Are you kidding me? Like, that's how much I did not like moving my body. Okay. So that was like early 20s. So then I kind of told you, I was really focused on being a mom, and I was busy being a nurse. And, in my mind, I didn't have the energy to work out or anything. But after I had Penn, I knew that was our last baby. I knew I wasn't going to be having any more babies. And I thought, well, I probably, need to get back to at least where I was before I got pregnant. And I started some, like Beachbody videos at home, and I was doing some weightlifting, and I was starting to see some progress. And so this was like summer into fall of 2018, and I was starting to feel better, and I liked working out. And I will say, I have never been one to go to a gym and successfully stay at a gym. I have really enjoyed my fitness journey by myself. And, maybe that was part of it, is I just never had like alone time in college, because it's always such a community. But yeah, I didn't like going to gyms. I've never liked going to gyms, but doing something in my own house was working. And so I was going down that path, and, like my scrubs, I remember were fitting differently at work. And then it was November of 2018 that Jeremiah got really sick with a GI bug. We didn't really know much about it. He got better, but then right after that, I had the same symptoms starting. And then I continued, though, to get more sick. And I actually went to work. I will never forget the beginning of this day either, but I was still taking care of patients in the hospital. And I went to work, and it was a Sunday. And I remember driving thinking, I don't feel like, I probably should not be driving right now. Something's not right. But, you don't call off when you're a nurse. You go, you take care of your patients. And I went to work, and later on, my friends were looking at me, and they were like, Amber, your eyes are yellow. And I was like, what do you mean? And so I went to the bathroom to look at myself. And after I used the bathroom, I had pulled my pants down to sit on the toilet. And I looked down, and I had bruises all down my legs. And I had not bumped into anything. I had not gotten hurt. I just had bruises, and my eyes were yellow. And I knew that I had this, really bad stomach bug before. So I called my doctor, and I'm like, hey, this is happening. And she goes, well, let's draw your blood at work. Okay. Because you've got all the hookups. And so I remember having the nurse supervisor draw my blood. I'm like, my doctor just ordered this. Clearly, something's not right. Look at these bruises. And, I remember too, she put the tourniquet on my arm and drew the blood. And when she took the tourniquet off, I had a whole bruise just from that pressure of that. Her eyes were really serious. And she was like, we're going to the ER now. And so it turns out what I had was Shiga toxin releasing E. coli that turned into hemolytic uremic syndrome, which is a really big word for basically your body's breaking down your red blood cells very quickly, and you're losing blood kind of internally, and it's all backing up in your kidneys. So I got flown out. We live in the mountain town I had mentioned, and so I got flown out to Denver in the middle of my shift because it wasn't something that our hospital could manage. And I remember, calling John and saying, this is happening. And he was off that day because it was a Sunday, and he had the two boys at home. And honestly, like the rest of it is kind of a blur. But, John drove the kids to Denver. They were staying in a hotel. My parents met there. And I was in the ICU for a week in Denver. And I don't remember this, but my mom had said the doctors were saying every day, like it's touch and go every day. We don't know what's going to happen. Luckily, I never needed dialysis. Like I was in renal failure, but I did not need dialysis, thank goodness. But once I was transitioned to the medical floor and then finally able to come home in December, I had gained probably like 40 pounds in that short amount of time, but it was all water weight because my kidneys were not working. So I went from having some sort of momentum and feeling like, oh, I'm finally making progress, I'm feeling good working out, to being like, I think my top weight honestly was like around 170 after I was released from the hospital. So that was like, I went back up to where I was when I was pregnant. Like I'm a pretty short, petite person. So to have that weight on my body, and so I kind of felt like, well, one, like, gosh, I'm starting over. Two, I just had like, not a near death experience, but like there was a chance I could have died while I was there. And while I was in the hospital and thinking about this, I just kept thinking, I have to live for my boys. I have to be there for my boys. I can't give up. I have to get better. And there was just something in me that flipped during that time that was like, nope, you made it through, you lived, and now you're going to be there for your boys, and you've got to take care of yourself. So that honestly was the biggest life-changing moment, like besides having my kids, that I've ever had. It was huge. Like it kind of spiraled towards John having a change of career. Like it was because he had to take care of me for several months before I was able to go back to work. Like I don't wish this on anybody, but I will say, like, because I survived, I am glad that it happened, because it really changed the trajectory of my life. So once my kidneys healed and I was able to get that fluid off of me, and I was able to, go through a rehab because, I hadn't moved for so long. I slowly started working into this journey of, no, I'm going to commit to a workout program. And if I like to do it at home, that's where I'm going to do it. And I was able to get that weight off of me and start moving my body and finally feel better. And from that point forward, I never took for granted my ability to be healthy, my ability to take care of myself, to take care of my boys, and to just, be active and appreciate the body that I had. So honestly, that was the biggest Kickstarter towards my fitness journey, which it was a big one.
I mean, it really is incredible. Because that's something that, no one would suspect or expect. Like you said, you and your son shared the exact same symptoms. Yours just turned into like violence 101.
Yeah, and thank God every day that it was me. I don't know what I would have done if that was him, if it would have taken that turn for him. So thank goodness it was me that could fight that battle, because I knew I could be strong for me, but gosh, being strong when your kiddo is in that state, I couldn't imagine.
Oh, it's horrifying. My son was a NICU baby the first week of his life. And it was taxing on us and especially on me, not to take it away from my husband, but I mean, I just gave birth. That is hard. That is hard. And then I'm sleeping on a very uncomfortable cot in the hospital and I'm dealing with, the dignity pants. You know what I'm talking about. And I have to do that in a public restroom and I'm bleeding everywhere and I'm hurting and my son is sick and in all the prayer I was doing, I literally was like, give it to me, put it on me. I can take it. I can take it. And it was heart wrenching. So you're right. When you say like, thank God it was you and not your son, I get exactly where you're coming from. Because us as mommies will take it. Before I had my son, I'd be like, anybody else want this? Because I don't. I'm not strong enough for this. Anybody else? But when I became a mom, it was like, I will take all of it. Give it all to me. I'm so grateful that you had the experience that you did because it shifted something in you to give you more, I guess, gratitude for your body. And, that's exactly where my journey started for me as well, was just the gratitude aspect. I think I was at my heaviest after my son was born, and that's going to happen. You do gain weight in pregnancy. But it didn't make me feel okay because I've always had like major body issues. But there goes mom brain. What was my Amber? Oh my gosh. Jessica.
It's just a perspective and gratitude for sure during all of that. Like babies take your brain for sure, but there is so much of it that just
But I think when I started to actually get myself back, and when I say that, I mean like eating healthier and moving my body more than I ever have in my life. I also started to sit in my own gratitude of where my body has been over my entire course of my life and what I've done to it. I mean, small town living, I was just a drunk for several reasons. It's not my proud moment, but we grew up in a tiny town and that's what we did because we had nothing else better to do. And everything else in between, I was trying to like solve my heart in every other way other than, dealing with it on an emotional level. So to actually like be sober during this time and not, is there a kiddo? Take your time. This is moms being moms here. This is moms being moms.
Yes, it is.
And I love that they walked in on me talking about drinking in high school. Golly, sorry about that.
Right. They didn't care. He just wanted to show me he poured his yogurt drink into a cup this time.
Good.
Big news.
Oh, good.
Yes.
Carpet is saved. No, I'm just saying that like the journey for all of us of finding our gratitude in our body, like later in life, it's interesting because, I look at so many people that I know personally, family members that are going through cancer journey and bedridden with MS. And I'm sitting here eating like crap. I'm not moving my body. Like, what gives me the right to just flush my health down the toilet? And I didn't want to live like that anymore. I want my son to have a different experience than I did. And I'm going to be his biggest example. I think that for your boys to look up to you and your husband, it's a big deal. We want to shape them and mold them into decent, well-rounded human beings. They're going to make their own mistakes in their own path. But when it comes to their health, at least they have a chance because, we shouldn't be taking this for granted, especially when you see all these young 20-something-year-olds going through cancer journeys, amputations. I mean, the list can go on and on. Walking one day and then, all of a sudden they're wheelbound or wheelchair bound. Like we are so like blessed to have these bodies in our health and be able to actually like move them in a good and positive way. And there are days that I definitely lay down and I sit on the couch. Do not get me wrong.
Oh, yes. I mean, bodies need to rest too. So
Yeah.
that's okay.
Yes, but I think for your story, as like, I can't imagine a hospital scare like that. I really can't. Like, especially if a doctor is coming at me saying you're in renal failure, your kidneys aren't functioning. I would be spinning. I'd be like, how is this even possible? So I'm so grateful that you and your family got through it the way that you did. It really is incredible. But let's get into the running aspect, because that, I think, was your saving grace.
Yes.
What was your journey into running?
Yeah. So, I mentioned that I started a work from home job a little over a year ago to make sure that I could accommodate being a mama. But there
Mhm.
was a part of me that I really felt like something was missing, because I went from like being in a hop-in place with a hospital and patients and coworkers and all the noise, to being in my house with my dogs during the day while the boys were at school, and I am not in a job where I am talking with patients. So like I might be on the phone 2 or 3 times a day for like 5 minutes, but that was my only interaction with people. So to a point, we talked about giving our body rest. That was nice to have that silence. But then at the same time, I'm like, okay, something's missing. I need something. So I got involved with Zaya, which is an athletic wear company that my friend introduced me to. And there was an opportunity to be a rep for the company. And I thought, well, gosh, this is going to blend my love for taking care of people, and serving them, but just in a different way from nursing, that I can help women find clothes that they love to be in. Hopefully it will encourage them to be more active. Because once I started getting the clothes and wearing them, I was like, oh, these leggings are great. Like, yeah, I'm going to go do a workout, and then I'm going to go do some yoga and Pilates. Like, yes, this feels good. And so I kind of dove in headfirst with the Zaya community and the reps that I found in that community, customers as well. But I really was kind of embraced by this group of reps that, finding best friends, first of all, in your 30s is so hard to do, but these ladies made it feel so easy. So we had such a strong connection. And we went to a conference in Chicago last April, and at the end of it, they were like, have you guys ever heard of 75 Hard? And I was like, no, what's that? They were like, well, we should do it. Like, we're going to be working out a whole bunch, we're going to get in shape and do all of this. We should do it. So I know that, we're going to talk about 75 Hard, but that's where I started my running journey. Now, I will say, in all of this, like working from home and being in these active clothes, like I remember liking, like honestly, it was like yoga and Pilates is what I liked, because after I had gotten sick, I had gained so much weight, but then something shifted in my body, and I really can't even speak to it, but I dropped weight. And it was like, and I don't say this to be vain or like braggy, but I could eat whatever I wanted and I would not gain a pound. In fact, there were times that I was losing weight, eating all the things. Like at one point, it was like a concerning thing with me and my doctor, like, what is going on? Because I was almost getting to a point where I was too low in weight, like it was unhealthy. And so I knew that maybe hardcore working out wasn't going to suit my body. So I was doing yoga, I was doing Pilates, and then my friend also introduced me to intermittent fasting. So I was like, I'm going to control my weight and my health with intermittent fasting and like very light working out. Okay. So when my Zaya friends were like gung ho, and these ladies, like some of them work out twice a day, like on the normal. That is just their passion, and they're very fit and, amazing, like awesome, right? And so they were like, oh, we can do this. And I was thinking, okay, 75 Hard, what it consists of, right? Part of it is 2 workouts in a day, each 45 minutes, one of them has to be outside. So I'm like, okay, I can walk my dogs outside for 45 minutes. That sounds great. And I'll do like yoga and Pilates, whatever, for the other 45 minutes. That sounds good. Okay. So we started that in April, and that's what I did. Like I walked and I did yoga or Pilates. Like I hardly ever broke a sweat. Like my Apple Watch probably wouldn't even register that I was working out. Okay? But I was moving my body. And so during this time, my sister-in-law had started her running journey. She was feeling lost as a mother, you know, like we all do. Like I'm giving all to my kids, but what am I doing for me? And so she had been a runner in high school, and she decided to start running again. And so during my 75 hard journey, I was watching her posts on social media where she would post her route of her run and her times. And I'm like, girl, you are waking up at 5 a.m. every day to go run miles? What? Wow, like you are a badass woman. Like, okay, I'm here for this. Sorry. But like that was my thought. It's like, dang, look at you go. And my thought was one day when I was out walking, and this was a solo walk. I had like a few different routes that I would go, or like sometimes I would just do a few laps with my dogs. I had some old doggies at the time, and they couldn't go longer distances. So I would do like a short few laps with my dogs, put them inside, and then I would go walk the rest of the way. And so I was walking, and I thought, you know, my sister-in-law's running. I wonder if I could run. Like, I bet I could do it. So I told myself, I'm going to run for 1 mile. Just go, see what happens. So I did. And I started running, and I ran a mile, and it was like right at 10 minutes. And I got done, and I was like, this felt good. Wow. Like, and I wanted to tell everybody, like, I just ran a mile, you guys. Like, I remember texting my Zaya friends that were doing 75 hard, like, I just ran a mile. And I called my mom, and like, I was so excited. I told my sister-in-law, like, I just ran. Like, this is so cool. And so from that moment forward, I just thought, well, I'm going to keep trying to do this. Like, at the time, there was no way I could run 45 minutes all at once. Like, that wasn't going to be my outdoor workout consisting of all running, but I could surely incorporate it into what I was doing. And that's what I did. I got very quickly obsessed with running. I liked it. I liked the way my body felt afterwards. And the great thing is that when I had started 75 hard, my whole thing was like, don't lose weight. You don't need to lose weight, like maintain. That's all you needed to do. But what I started to do, and I had never done this before, like in all the 30 odd years of my life, was build muscle and feel strong. Like I've had 2 babies, and I never in my life, like even in high school, had any muscle definition. And so to have started my 75 hard journey thinking, okay, just like move your body, do the things, check the list, to ending with, wow, now I can easily run a 5K, and I've got muscle definition, and I feel strong. That was just incredible. So that is honestly what kicked off my running journey, which is a long story to say, a long way to say it, but that's how it happened.
No, I love it. I think what you said, like just pushing yourself and trying is the first part of it. Right before I got pregnant with my son, I came down to Salida for FibArc for the first time in like 15 years. And I wanted to be in my best shape. And because I was about to turn 34, so I was like, was it 30? No, had it been 33. Geez, I don't know. Anyways, I started running around my neighborhood. We just moved into our house not too long before, and we've got like a really good path, and it's about a mile loop. And so I started very small increments. Like I would run the whole block, but when I crossed the street, I would walk. And then once I hit that block again, I would take off running. It gave me just a little bit of like a quick breather and then go again. But then once you hit, I think Jefferson, it's this huge, long, like 3 blocks total with no stop. So I was like, okay, I need to push myself on this long run. and then I'll take a little break in the path and all this stuff, right? Right before we left for Fib Arc, I ran a mile and it took me 10 minutes. And I was running up our street. My husband happened to be outside and I'm screaming. It's like 6 a.m. I'm like, George, I'm doing it. And literally he's like, oh my God, babe. But I'm screaming about, I'm doing it. Like I was so excited and so proud because I did not do this in high school. High school was just like the worst. And the fact that they were like, oh, you have to run a whole mile in a certain amount of time in order to get a good grade in this class was just so like overwhelming. And I felt kind of tacky because not everybody can do it. And it's a shame thing. Like, why can they do it and I can't? Just terrible. So everybody's journey is very different. And I do appreciate like you especially because it's so fun to watch you. You have been posting about running for how long now?
It feels like forever, but honestly, I didn't start running until May of 2023. So it has not even been a full year, but I feel like it's who I am now and it consumes me.
Like, why do I feel like you've been doing it for 5 years? I'm like, oh my gosh, Amber has been a runner for so long. I think it's just because you post about it so much that I'm like, yeah, she's been doing this for years.
Yeah, and no, that was not the case at all. Okay, you can bring it inside. Another kiddo, doggy chewing other stuffed animals.
Oh,
okay. So yes, I have been running for less than a year, but I stuck with it and was really consistent and was able to continue making progress in what I was doing. And honestly, fun fact about me, I'm very competitive and I didn't realize that necessarily, you know, like in sports in high school, I played volleyball and tennis and like the competitive side of me really didn't come out. I guess my competitive side was more in like my grades. I would say like I always wanted to be the best in school with my grades. So that was my competitive side. But now that I'm not in school anymore, when I started running, I was always in competition with myself. Like, oh, I ran 10-minute mile the first time. Can I do it in less than that? Oh, I ran for 30 minutes. Can I run for 35 today? And so that is what really pushed me forward too, was just kind of my own personality and my relationship with running was like, I always want to do better. What's the next thing? Pros and cons to that, but
I love it. I absolutely love it. And it shows a true testament to everybody's characters when they want to push for a little bit harder or for just a little bit more. I mean, we can do hard things if given the opportunity. And that's the thing. I don't want people to quit on themselves in their own personal health journey. Not everybody is going to be able to run at all. But if it can mean a matter of walking for a block and working their way up to a mile, that's something really amazing. And I think it's a true testament of just don't give up on yourself. Because if you stopped because it was too hard, Amber, then you wouldn't have found this bliss and joy that you have now.
Yes, that's so true. And now like I almost get grouchy if I don't have enough running in my week, you know, like I crave it. And when you were talking though about not giving up on yourself, I do have like the sweetest story that just shows like what you portray to your kids and hopefully it rubs off on them. But I remember last summer I was taking my kids a lot, like I would run and they would ride their bikes and we wouldn't go as far as my runs, you know, like they were still pretty little then, they still are now. But anyways, one of the routes that I like to run, it goes down a big hill, which is really fun, into a dirt road, and then it comes back up. And so you've got a pretty big hill to come up right before we get closer to home. And my oldest, Jeremiah, he, you know, didn't have any training wheels at the time, and you know, he could sit up and down that hill all day. But I was kind of going slowly behind with Penn, who had training wheels. And we're getting up to this hill, and kind of throughout the whole ride, he was saying like, I'm gonna have to go up that hill, Mom. I don't know. It's pretty big. I don't know about that hill. And I kept telling him, well, you just try. We'll get as far up as we can. And if you need to stop and get off, we'll just push your bike up the rest of the way. It's fine. It's really okay. And he, it was in his mind. You could see him thinking about, how am I going to get up this hill, right? So we get closer, and I'm like, okay, buddy, here we go. Get your speed. And he starts riding his bike, and he's going, and you can see his little legs. Like, it's not even a fluid bike pedal at this point. It's like, huh, huh, and he's going, and he's starting to get mad. And he, he's 5 at that time, and he's still 5 now, but he was a much younger 5 then, right? And he was like so passionate, but he feels all the feelings, and he was like, it's hard, right? And there's like neighbors around and everything, so I'm like, it's doing this way anyways, but like there's clearly people watching us. Like, this kid is very upset, and if you know him, he's very loud too, in the sweetest way. But he's like, Mom, that's him. You guys can do it. And I said, well, honey, if you just want to stop and you just want to get off really quick, we'll just push the rest of the way. And he goes, I never said I wanted to quit. I never said, and he kept saying that. And he made it up to the hill, and then he gets on top of the hill, and he goes, we can do all things through Jesus Christ who gives us strength. And I thought,
oh my God.
Yes, buddy, we can. But I'm just like, I was so proud of him in that moment. Like, you're doing hard things. You didn't quit, and you did it. And I'm like, oh, I hope that you see, like, from me and your dad, like, yes, we can do hard things. You just have to put your mind to it. And so that story just always makes me laugh about thinking how we present when there's challenges in front of us, and how do we overcome them. So yeah, I just had to share that really quick because it made me think about that.
I love it because in my previous interview with Jessica Mizuka, I was telling her that, for years I gave up on myself in so many different areas of my life for so many different reasons. And obviously, making time for my workouts and all this stuff, like it with a full-time job, it was a lot. But I gave myself a lot of excuses. Oh, mom brain. No. Oh, no. What was my point? Jessica Mizuka.
Yeah, not quitting, right? Like, no excuses. Like, when we don't make excuses.
Thank you, Amber. You got me back on track. So I told her, I said, when I started my journey back down in my gym, I was at my heaviest. I hadn't worked out in close to like 11 months because, my pregnancy with my baby was challenging. It wasn't like too terrible, but it was still uncomfortable. It was challenging. My body's changing, like a lot of things happening. And now I'm starting my workout, and these are muscles I have not worked in forever. I mean, I wanted to die. You saw my video, I think, that I posted back in December of where I started and stuff. And that was challenging. And I wanted to quit so bad, but I knew I couldn't. And talking about with Jessica, oh Lord, I'm forgetting again. Oh no, because I get on a tangent. Oh,
I did the same thing.
Oh my God, it's so embarrassing.
No, that's okay. Just you kept on your journey, right? Like, no excuses, and you overcame this obstacle.
I did. I had to get past my fears. I had to get past like the soreness. I had to stop giving the excuses. Oh, there it is. I knew I could do hard things because I did one of the hardest things a woman can do. I gave birth, and I literally told Jessica Mizuka, I said, look, I wanted to quit on these workouts because it was hard, but literally I had to tell myself, you gave birth. Would you rather do that or would you rather do this? I was like, my attitude shifted real quick. I was like, oh, I'd rather do this all day long.
And I will say, for my running journey, when I'm out running and I start to feel like this is hard, because a lot of it, once you get going, it's a mental game. more so than physical. Like once your muscles are there and used to it, it's a mental game of how long you can go and how far you can go. And it's really easy to let your mind drift off and say like, oh, just stop and call it a day. But
Right.
my reminder to myself is there was a time that you were in a hospital bed and you would have given anything to go run. You would have given anything to hop out of that bed and do what you're doing now. So
Yes.
what are you doing for yourself? And that's my reminder every time that I want to quit while I'm running is I tell myself, nope, you can keep going and you can do this because you wished you could have, 5 years ago when this happened. So just keep going.
Of course. I mean, it's funny how our life like stories come into play. Like literally, I'm a stay-at-home mom right now and I'm working on my blog and all this stuff. And my son is out of control, like having a complete meltdown because he's teething, we're not sleeping, all of these things. And there are days where I really want to throw in the towel. And then I go, oh, Lauren, do you remember that time you were a bartender for about 8 years of your life and dealt with angry, drunk people? Oh, yeah. Not going to bed until 3 a.m. I think I can handle this right now.
Yep, exactly. Choose your hard.
I know. Well, speaking of hard, we were just talking about these 75 hard. And I know because I've tried 75 hard. And again, in my era of life of quitting on myself way too often, I was not prepared to give up drinking. And I know that that's a part of it. So the other rules to 75 hard, can you explain what these rules are? Because I know that if you don't hit all of your criteria of the day, you go right back to day one, right?
Yep, exactly. So yeah, when my friends were telling me about it, I was like, you do what? Huh? So here are the rules. Okay. It's created by a guy named Andy Frisella. It's a free program. You don't have to spend any money to do it. And his whole thing about it is that while there's physical components, it's a mental toughness challenge. So he's like, it's an Ironman for your brain is what it is. And so for 75 days, no excuses. You work, like I said, you work out twice, each for 45 minutes. One of them has to be outside. If it's 30 degrees outside, if it's 90 degrees outside, like if it's snowing, raining, sunny, it doesn't matter, outside. Then, like you said, no alcohol. Pick a diet, stick to it. Mine was intermittent fasting. Drink a gallon of water and read 10 pages of a nonfiction, like self-development book every single day and take a progress picture. So if you did all the hard things and you didn't take a progress picture, you fail. Like, and only you would know that, right? Only you're going to know if you allow yourself to move on to the next day or not.
Right.
But if you get into it, there's something that's like, nope, I've got to do this. And so when we started in April, we did have a group of women that was in a chat, and that accountability was huge. I can say there are so many days during that first round of 75 hard that I did that I totally would have thrown in the towel and made up excuses about why I didn't finish for that day. But then not only would I be letting myself down, I would be letting this other group of women down. And so we checked in with each other, and there were days where we were like, guys, like, I do not want to do this. And, we cheered each other on, and you can do it. We did it. There were 6, 7 of us that finished that first round. And yeah, there were days that I wanted to quit, but what it taught me was you can make excuses, but you can also overcome them. Like, what do you want more? And it really was more of a challenge for my brain than it was for my body. And of course, there were physical changes that came with it. But man, the time management, let me tell you, I felt good. I felt on top of my game. I felt productive doing it. And it was cool to continue pushing myself through my running journey when I did that. Like I incorporated my race days into my outdoor workout, when I was doing it. So yeah, I finished I think it was the 4th of July. It was either the 4th or 5th of July. And then I was so excited that on day 75, I went and got my first tattoo. So I was like, I got to commemorate this. Like, I did it.
I love it. I absolutely love it. I think, I'm in that season of my life because I'm not drinking right now. I am reading like 3 or 4 books at a time because I've got like one that's for fun. I've got one that's based on psychology of parent and child relationships. I've got another one on like, the pelvic floor and like how our bodies have shifted after postpartum. Like I'm all over the place. So I think this is the season of my life to actually try 75 hard because I am working out every day. But because it is so cold outside, Amber, I am not ready to commit to doing 75 hard in Colorado winter. I'm like, let's talk about this after July. Let's talk about this again. Because I think
I get that.
I'm in a better mind. Yeah. And also another, I think the difficult part of 75 hard for me was the gallon of water. I struggle with drinking water all the time. So the thought of a gallon is overwhelming.
Yeah, that one was one of my tougher things. And there were times where it was like 10 o'clock at night and I'm slamming like the last 20 ounces that I need to get in for the day. I'm up all night, but it is what it is. But yes, like the drinking water was one of the harder things in the beginning, but then my body craved it. And I haven't been drinking a gallon of water a day still, but for the most part, I get close to it. So I'm like, oh, I just feel so much better when I have that water in my system. Of course. Yes. And reading, I still read, but even if I don't think that it's something sustainable to do 352 days a year, 24 back to back to back. It's just not sustainable. And I think there is something to, having a season of letting your body heal and rest. We think about the winter season like we're in right now, even though we don't see trees blooming and everything like that, there's still so much going on underneath the surface. While it's cold and dark, there's still progress happening by allowing yourself to have some rest. So I think it's okay that we're not digging into 75 hard every single day, every single season, because it's not sustainable.
It's a lot. It's a lot. And time management is a big deal, especially like when you have jobs, you're a mom, parent, like all of these things. It's 75 days seems like that's enough.
Yep. It was enough for me. And we did try and do it a second round, but I got hurt and I could barely even walk, and there was no way that I could say I'm going to push through this pain and finish this challenge. So I made it 6 weeks into round 2, and then I finally had to bow out because of a running injury, which is unfortunate, but I don't know if I'll ever do it again or not. I felt good while I was doing it. And on day 75, man, that feeling was incredible. But I think like just honoring and committing to myself that I'm going to move my body every day, or if there's if I need a day of rest, like grant myself that day of rest. But if I eat a tub of Ben and Jerry's in one day and I end up taking a nap and not working out like on that one day, it doesn't mean my whole fitness journey is off track. Like I probably needed that rest and I'm going to get back onto it the next day, right? Like it's a nice balance, I think, is what I took out of 75 hard.
Yeah. I mean, it is a more challenging thing for your mind, like you said. And I was not prepared for it. And I was also like, I was lying my way through it. And then I started to feel really bad about myself. And it was just like, okay, I'm not in this headspace for myself right now. But you've just convinced me. I'm going to go ahead and try to push myself and do this in July because, weather will be beautiful as long as I get outside before, 7 a.m. Or else.
Okay, well, I'm going to be cheering you on and watching you along the way.
I'm thinking I'm just going to have you in a separate chat and being like, okay, you're my 75 hard bud, and this is what is going to happen.
I love it. Yes, please do.
I love it. Let's get into your very exciting new journey into podcasting. You and your sister-in-law, Robin, are starting something really incredible. I'm super excited about it. Please tell me what you're doing.
Yeah, so, like I said, running has kind of consumed my life, and I love the connections that it's introduced to me. Really, like, I don't know if we would be talking right now if I would not have started running, right? And there's been so many other women that we've just connected with and like cheering each other on either starting running or continuing your running journey or picking it back up because you left off. And so for a long time now, I've just thought about like, gosh, how can I reach more people? This sounds so cool. What's it going to be? And so my idea developed over several months about doing a podcast and with my sister-in-law, because with our running journey, I said she was the one that when I was watching her, that's what really motivated me to start running. So I kind of started like creeping in on her race days. She would be like, oh, I'm going to sign up for this race. And I'm like, me too. I'm going to do that too. Yeah. And so we ended up going on a lot of adventures together last year, lots of races, 5Ks, 10Ks. We have a half marathon coming up in April that we're going to do together in Utah. And so our dream has just expanded to say, how cool would it be to do races in different areas like of the US for now at least, right? And be able to connect with other people. And like maybe make a living off of running, but the thing is I'm never going to be an Olympic runner. I say that now. It's not going to happen. Like I'm not going to be a professional runner, anything like that. But being able to, I guess, have your passion be what you do for a living. How cool would that be? So yes, we are starting a podcast. It is called Run in Her Shoes. So myself and my sister-in-law Robin are the co-hosts in it, and we're going to be talking about juggling life as a busy mom who works, and how we incorporate running into our lives. Certainly the emphasis is going to be on running. We'll talk about different races that we have done and kind of do a race breakdown on those, any fun races that we have coming up. And then we are going to be including like the fun history and the cause behind those races. A lot of races that runners sign up for, you'll see that your entry fees goes towards maybe a certain population of need or a scholarship or a fundraiser. And so like to bring that passion together of being able to help people, with even just your funds of running in a race, and then you take care of yourself by prepping and training for this race and participating in this race. It just kind of comes full circle. So we'll be talking about that, and then maybe even where's the best place to eat after you finish your race in this area. And then we really want to include listeners in this and have a community base in this outreach. So we'll have listener stories so that we can hear women from all over the country and wherever they're at in their stage of life and their stage of running, and just hopefully encourage others to start running as well, or pick it up or continue it. So we're just so excited to be starting this adventure together.
I am so thrilled because I think there is a community, especially for women, that need this. It's going to keep them motivated. It's going to keep them, on track with their goals. But also it's nice to hear everybody's own stories and how they can incorporate it into their own journey. Because a lot of the time we find women that you would never know it, but they have walked a similar path that we have. And to just be able to connect in that way, it's such a beautiful thing. Like I appreciate all of this in so many different forms. It's incredible. And I can't wait to listen in what is it called? In Her Shoes?
Run in Her Shoes. Yep.
Run in Her Shoes. Oh, I'm excited to hear Robin. I see her pictures all the time with you, but I'm excited to hear her voice and stuff.
Yeah, it's going to be great. So we're going to have the first one dropping this week. From the time of this interview, it's not released yet, but it's coming. And our goal is to have weekly episodes. So stay tuned and we'll see where this venture takes us.
Amazing. Can you give us a couple of topics you guys have already decided to talk about? What are the episodes you're working on?
Yeah, for sure. First episode, we thought it would be fitting to talk about our first race together, which you brought it up. It was the FitBark 5K together. So did you race that one?
No.
No. That's planned to.
I've actually I have never entered into a race. That is something that I would love to do eventually. I've got a very dear girlfriend in Arizona. I think that you and Robin should connect with her. Her name is Nicole Hayward. She is one of the most incredible women in my life. And she and her dad, they run the LA Marathon every year.
Oh my
But
gosh.
Amber, they also run 12 miles 4 times a week and like 8 miles on the other days. I mean, and her dad is like rounding into his 80s. I love you, Yogi. I'm sorry if you're not, but like I aspire to be that fit when I am like his age. It's incredible. But I've talked to her about joining a race with her, and she's like, "Oh, it's a 5K, like that's nothing." I'm like, "Listen, I can't even do like a full quarter mile like without huffing and puffing. Like, get out of here, LA Marathon track star. Like, get out of here with that nonsense." So I'm working my way up to getting to a small race with her.
I love that. And the thing is, like, the whole basis of what I want to like talk about on our podcast is we're not professional runners. We do not run marathons. Maybe one day, like, I'm not ruling that out, but I'm very comfortable in the 5K area after a lot of work. I can do a 10K, I can do a little bit more, but it's still work for me, and I'm not doing 6-minute miles, 5-minute miles. Like, I'm not. And so I'm hoping that, mothers across the world, maybe I'm, dreaming big here, but that they see that and can relate, just like you. Like, it's okay if you walk during your 5K race. Like, you're out there doing it while other people are sitting on the couch eating Cheerios and watching, daytime TV. You're out there racing and taking care of yourself. Who cares if you walk for a little bit? I've walked in a 5K. It's fine, So to just know that we're relatable, we're real people, we're real moms, and we just really want other moms to be taking care of their mental and physical health with running. So that's going to be the basis of it. But yeah, our first episode, we're going to be breaking down our first race together, talking about our running stories, and then also tips and tricks along the way too, of like, if you're a new runner, this gear is really handy to have, that sort of a thing. And in our second episode, we're going to be talking about one of our biggest race fails ever, to know that it's not always going to be perfect.
I love it. I absolutely love it. This is why I am so honored that I can feature you on my Women to Know and Follow, because I think you have such a unique story in every which way, from mommyhood to what you're doing right now. You're following a passion that probably was like one of those epiphany moments. I was like, can I do this running? Like I love it. I admire it so much. And I'm just absolutely thrilled that you and Robin are starting this incredible new journey. I'm here for it. I'm cheering you guys on. I'm going to be listening to you guys because, I definitely want to start my own running journey, because it is a freeing thing. And like I said, not doing it in high school, I wish I did. But now that I've gotten to this part of my life, I have done the 10-minute mile, and I was so proud. Like, I mean, I looked crazy down my street. My husband certainly thought I looked crazy, but it was very rewarding, and I want to continue on that path. So, I just want to say thank you for being such an inspiration, and I'm so excited to be following Robin as well. I'm going to add her on social media, and hopefully she doesn't decline me. Tell her, Lauren's adding you. She's not a crazy
Absolutely,
but she does want to follow you.
I love it. Well, thank you for having me. I'm so excited to see where all of this takes you, and I'm just honored to be a part of it. So thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much, Amber. You have a great rest of your Sunday, and we're going to chat soon.
Bye.